putting 2-3 DMs in phase 6. Like his system
3
wasn't
DMs.
great.
Are we really running with the 3 DMs?
Well, how was it not three DMs? What's Moreno's?
Did you see Mikel Moreno versus Spain? Does that look like a DM to you?
What position did he play against Liverpool?
He was basically the 10.
He was a 10. What did we buy him? What position did we buy him for?
Central midfield.
Egal, don't do this. You know he's a DM. He just
no. He never played defensive midfield for us.
Oh my god! Oh my god! What is his main position? If you look up right now, what's his main position? Even though he's not good at it, he's a DM, bro.
I thought he was a left 8 originally.
Egal.
No, I'm dead serious. I always thought that's why we bought him. Nobody ever said Mikel Moreno's an 8. Nobody ever said Mikel Moreno's a defensive midfielder. They always said Mikel Moreno's a left 8 or somebody who can play on the left-hand side.
He's not creative. He's not creative enough to be an 8.
No, but he doesn't have to be. He's a goal scorer. He's a box scorer. He's a box crasher.
So why not just play him up front then?
You can play him as a second striker. You can play him as a 10. That's what Mikel Arteta did.
And it didn't work.
It didn't work. And I wouldn't have done that either. I probably would have played Ethan.
Bro.
But my issue is calling him a DM. He's not a defensive midfielder. He hasn't.
No, he's not. But that was his position, and he hasn't worked out as a DM.
No, that was never his position. You've misprofiled him.
I've misprofiled him.
Yeah, you have. Anybody here, everyone here can say he's not a defensive midfielder. He's got McTominay.
No, he's not good at playing that position, but that was
Scott McTominay, defensive midfielder for Napoli.
Bro, Moreno, what is this? Look up Moreno's position and tell me what it says.
Moreno's positioning, he on that day he was playing in Odegaard's role as the right central midfielder.
So he's a goal scorer. Let's just go with your. He's a goal scorer that plays in an 8, but it's not creative to play in an 8. But then he's played in a 10, but he's not creative enough to play in a 10 because he's a box crasher that scores goals. Do you see how this whole thing doesn't make sense to me?
His value in the team is as another person who can get in and around the box to make a difference in the final third to score goals. Yes, he might not necessarily be the guy who breaks the lines and gets onto the ball and gets 100 touches, but he's the kind of player who, when he does, if there's a set piece or if there's an open play, if the ball can get to him in and around the box, he'll finish his dinner. He's probably one of our best finishers in the team. But I'm not sitting here saying he is a DM. I just disagree with that point. To go and say we went to Anfield with 3 DMs and what do you call it, 2 and 8 center backs is wrong, because the guy's not a defensive midfielder. Declan Rice is no longer a defensive midfielder either. Declan Rice is more of an 8.
What's Declan Rice?
Declan Rice for Arsenal has been an 8 for well over a year now.
And does he do well in the 8? Because I thought he was better last season, but does he have the attributes to play in the 8?
Yeah, he's a natural driver with the ball. He drives with the ball high up the pitch very well. And when he has the ball and he progresses it, he doesn't progress it through passing all the time. Sometimes he doesn't progress it with dribbling either. It's just usually driving with the ball into more dangerous areas, putting the defense under trouble. I think the best example was it PSV, where he basically took the ball from one end all the way to the other and then passed it off for a goal. I forget which game that was, but there was a game where he did that, and I was like, this guy's unbelievable. When he's on the ball and he's driving with the ball, he's quite quick with it.
So Declan Rice is good at driving with the ball, but he's not good at dribbling.
I don't view him as somebody dribbling past players. He's more just somebody who takes the possession and brushes players off and goes with his pure pace and power.
And then
he's not like tricky. He's not like tricky like a Pedri. You know what I mean?
And then when he gets into the final third, what does he do once he's driven with the ball?
He's not that good of a finisher yet, but he'll probably get there eventually.
What about his passing in open play?
I wouldn't say his passing is amazing or anything like that. His passing.
So literally, we have an 8 that can't dribble.
I would say his crossing is amazing.
That just drives with the ball, and then when he gets in the final third, his finishing ain't great and his passing ain't great.
No, but his crosses, long distance passes are good.
His long distance passes. What do you mean from deep when he receives the ball in a half turn?
from corners, from set pieces, and also when
No, I'm talking about open play.
or cross pitch to like a cross pitch to like a Saka, trying to create an overload on the other side. He's good at that.
Okay.
His
Okay.
long
To me,
distance passes are good. Yeah.
to me, that sounds like a number 8 that's very limited. Can't dribble, can't pass, isn't great at shooting. I think it's
He
quite.
doesn't have to dribble with the fact that he can brush players off. They can't get to him.
Is he good on the half turn when he receives the ball from deep?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily his strength, but that's why he's not playing as the deepest defensive player in the team. That's why Zubamendi's here now. Zubamendi's the guy who receives the ball from the defenders and turns and plays the passes. Not every player is complete.
Right.
You use players to their strengths.
Right. And what is Rice's strengths?
Rice's strengths is one, he's a real good all-around player when going forward and defending.
So we should play Zubamendi in the 8 because he seems to have the attributes to play in the 8, not Rice.
Zubamendi's playing as the 6 because he's the deepest player who can receive the ball and turn and make the best passes with the most passing range. Declan Rice plays on the left because one, he's able to cover the most space defensively and can get back and do that. Also, he can get forward and attack. He's a good box-to-box midfielder. He doesn't necessarily have to just do one thing. I would say Zubamendi is less of a box-to-box midfielder and more of a deep line playmaker.
Right. Isn't that a big job of the number 8 as well, to be able to create chances from deep and to be able to turn on a half turn and spot passes and spark a counter attack?
Yeah, but he does that, but he doesn't do it the same way. Deep line playmakers, they're almost like the quarterback. They spread out all the play to everybody across the pitch, where Rice is basically on the left-hand side, and he's not responsible for the creativity from the right. He's more responsible with linking up with the left winger, the left back, and linking everything together on that left-hand side.
Okay. So Arteta got it wrong.
Also, another key job that Declan Rice does, he wins the ball high up the pitch to give us counterattacks when he does win the ball high up the pitch.
So with the lineup against Liverpool, you think that we're not going to go with that lineup in future games?
No, I don't think we necessarily go with the exact same lineup, because I would expect one of Odegaard or Ethan to be in the team more often than not.
Okay.
Unless you go with a 4-4-2 and then we change the formation.
Okay. Well, Tony, big up. Welcome to the show. Let's get your opinion. I was talking to Egal just now about the team, the midfield. He's telling me that Moreno's not a DM. I believe he was brought in as a DM that hasn't worked out as a DM, and now we're using him as a striker. What do you make of Arteta's lineup against Liverpool, the midfield, and do you see Declan Rice as a number 8 that has the attributes to play in the number 8?
Hey, big up to everyone who's in the chat. Yeah, I mean, big ups to Northside. Thanks for assembling this. And of course, big up to our brother Egal. Finally, I get to, have a chit chat with my brother yet again. I mean, see, bro, I was on your channel the other time. Yeah, you knew what happened the other time. Yeah, but we might slightly bring back, that. While I just literally walked straight, home before I got on air right now, and I heard what you were saying, brother Egal. Yeah, I mean, brother Northside asked you a question. Yeah, Northside, I'll visit your question. Northside asked you, simple. Do you think we have a team that is literally gonna win or something this season? I saw the way you said yes. Frankly, I do believe that with you. I really frankly believe that. But brother Egal, there's sometimes, I mean, we need to call a spade at times. That team was literally given to him by Andre Beta. Yeah. That's why we have the confidence to say, hey, do you have the team to actually win something? When you say yes, I do agree that with you. But brother Egal, we need to call a spade a spade. You know that this manager will not win us anything. He is going to mismanage the squad. And that's the place you're totally not really, standing up and really saying it as it is. This manager will not win us any trophies because he's not just nuanced in the way on how to win the trophies, no matter what we provide for him. He's not going to do anything for us. I mean, let me just take you to the injuries that we're facing right now. This man here, let's not even talk about his tactics. Throw his tactics away. We both understand what is going on with his tactics. Throw that all away. Brother Egal, let's talk about, throw away the issue of his man management skills. Let's just talk about the management of the fitness levels of the players he's got. Just the ones he's got. 2 seasons ago, me and Brother Northside were talking about this. We've literally seen this manager toss back Thomas Partey, who we played out of position 2 seasons ago against Manchester City. He was clutching on his knee, totally banged up and injured, yeah? This manager literally tossed him back to go play, yeah? And after that game, Thomas Partey was totally out for maybe 2 months or so. We've seen him do the same thing with Gabriel Martinelli. Injured, everything. The guy was on the floor clutching and screaming. This manager tossed him back into the field to go play. We've seen it twice, bro. We've seen this manager completely use Bukayo Saka running down to the ground. Bro, it's just 3 games into the season and we can't even find our highest goal scorer last season, brother, in this game. This is a bigger problem. It doesn't matter how much you spend on this manager, he always finds a way. He always finds a way to undervalue us. Every season, Brother Egal. Every goddamn season. I mean, people would say this is negative or this or that, but you know what? Yeah, let's call a spade a spade. No matter whatever you give to this manager, he's going to waste it. Take a team example, William Saliba. Just recently, brother, this guy, yeah, complained that he had a sprain on his leg in the training in that Liverpool matchup, just before the Liverpool matchup. And this guy complained about it. No, the manager doesn't really care. He just said, hey, you know what? Yeah, don't worry, everything will be okay. Because we know he's a good talker. We know Mikel Arteta is a sweet talker. After all, he talks about lemons. After all, he talks about light bulbs and all that word shit. But you know what? Yeah, William Saliba is now injured. But I mean, Brother Egal, you have to agree with me, yeah. Even if his in-game management is very, very contentious, yeah. Even if his tactics as a manager is also very questionable, we can both agree with that. That's questionable, but we don't literally have to talk about that right now, yeah, because that'll be a 2-hour show. You just have to agree with me that he is not a manager that is in tune with the fitness management of the team he's got.